Despite hearing nothing but glowing praise for Unbeatable while occasionally scrolling through Blue Sky or Twitter, I myself wasn't very quick to jump in. I didn't have anything against it, I just had other things on my plate, from job applications and part-time work to trying to retain any semblance of a social life. From other video games coming out, my interest being pulled away to... when I did find the time and motivation to play through the demo, even through most of the arcade mode, yeah, I was pretty sold. A rhythm game with a nostalgic anime aesthetic and emotional storytelling? That sounds right up my alley now that I'm thinking about it. How do you play? Well, allow me to whip out my two-step guide on everything you need to play Unbeatable. You press the F key, and then you press the K key.
That's all there is to it.
A game so simple, you only need 2 fingers to play. Maybe 4, depending on the song. I liked how it looked, felt, played, sound. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough, and I decided to put on my wish list of things I might want to play later down the line. Like, maybe next year later, cause that's totally how a backlog works. And also because there wasn't really a release date for the game yet. A week later, the release date dropped. But not really, they had to push it back to December, so it's more like... I kinda fell into a rabbit hole after seeing the release date. Not as big as when I fell into that Toho rabbit hole a while back, god no, but I wanted to know more about Unbeatable prior to its release. This led to me peeking at the game's Kickstarter page, and a whole other game that was released before the demo called Unbeatable White Label. Basically a short side story that focused much more on the main character's backstory. It's going to be finished one day, supposedly, but you do not need to play White Label if you want to enjoy the main game. On top of this, I also sank what some might either call baby numbers or a stupid amount of time for a demo. Nearly 19 hours playing the game's arcade mode. You could say I got a little invested. So, going in with tempered expectations, Unbeatable had the chance to either be the best game I've played all year, or a mild disappointment with a decently fun arcade mode. So really I wasn't going to lose unless the game just straight up didn't have an executable file. Thankfully it did, and it ended up leaning towards the former, with like a few asterisks. So it's more like it's just a really good game that needs some more polishing. So Unbeatable has 2 modes, story and arcade. Story is the narrative focused part of the game, go figure, and arcade mode is all gameplay, all songs, all the time. I don't want to say too much about the story, but I do want to briefly mention it, mostly because it's literally half the game. But it's really hard to say anything about the story because it feels like you can't without just flat out spoiling parts of it. So here's my minimal spoiler, extremely heavily abridged explanation of Unbeatable. You play as Beat, a pink-haired girl with a tendency to zone out, a love-hate relationship for making music, in a world where music has been criminalized by the police organization known as Harm. Her goal is to not get beaten by the cops she's actively protesting by using extreme physical violence, featuring these hands, all while playing DIY rock music and shouting ACAB at the top of her lungs, accompanied by Quaver, a literal 12-year-old child with emotional baggage that everyone else seems to ignore, Treble, who is a noodle, and Clef, who is herself. Their shared goal of protesting against harm eventually leads to them joining forces to form the aptly titled band, Unbeatable. Why did it do that? It's not gonna do that every time I say Unbeatable, will it? Rushing past a ton of major plot details, along the way you'll meet mysterious prison food, people that hate you, people that love you a little too much, confused people, including yourself, 90s anime vibes, confusing shop names, sewer levels, anger management courses, a child that plays guitar and doesn't know what a guitar is, Super Lesbian Fighters EX, Deep Blob 3, Ramen, floor ramen, Quaver falling into the back rooms, bartending, singing, baseball, trauma, and the most important thing of all, the pillows. I wonder if I'll get copyright struck for playing this. While you're busy oohing and awing at the pretty anime people and singing your heart out, you'll be walking around town or wherever you are, doing little side quests, putting up posters, committing whatever kind of vandalism you feel like that day. It can range from walking from point A to point B, then point C, then back to point B, to getting assaulted by a sentient baseball shooter, or skating with your headphones, or breaking something, or jumping on tables, or coming up with new songs. Quit your day job at the bar and sock your local harm agent. And while it does love to try and be funny every once in a while, for better or worse, not everything is just sunshine and Lucky Charms. It does discuss some very deep emotional themes that can give you some major feels. That said, I also wouldn't be surprised if you ended up very confused midway through the story, for reasons I can't say because it would be spoilers. Let's just say you can't take things at face value. All plot details in the story will be relevant throughout, more or less, and it's up to you to pay attention and piece the important bits together. If you want to make sense of the story, then get to reading. And God help you if you try to look for a clear-cut final answer to everything. But if all else fails, just go with the vibe. Feel things out, be yourself, have fun, take things slowly. Okay, maybe too slow, but let's say you don't care about the story. First of all, I pity you. Secondly, allow me to move your attention over to the second half of the game, made for the people that just want to jump right in, and for those that don't care about the story. Arcade mode is just a normal rhythm game without all the cop punching and sentient baseball machines. It gives a list of all the tracks you can play, even songs from the story mode that didn't have a normal tracker here with their own unique chart, which I think is neat. Just pick a song, your difficulty, and play. It's that easy. Now take this next bit with a grain of salt because I mainly play on Unbeatable difficulty. If you turn it down here, I assure you will not be this chaotic. I just like pain. If I were to describe the charting of these songs, imagine you're on the mic singing the vocals, then suddenly someone pushes a guitar into your hands and forces you to shred it. Then someone pushes you into their chair and makes you play the drums. Then someone else throws their keyboard at you and tells you to play that as well, all while doing vocals, smashing the drums, and shredding a guitar, while everyone else just stands on the side and watches you suffer and develop carpal tunnel. That's what the charting feels like in Unbeatable. 1 second you're doing vocals, the next you're hitting the drums, and then you're hitting the concrete because oh shit, who charted this? To say the least, it's a little overwhelming. Thankfully, that is in fact why difficulty options exist. Not only that, you also get modifiers you can turn on. Not many, and some of them are self-explanatory, but they have their uses, if not just for satisfying curiosity. Critical mode is the most notable of them. While it's enabled, hitting notes with a rating below perfect or critical will make you take damage. The worse the rating, the more it hurts. But you can get a very significant score boost if you can stay consistently critical. But you'll only ever want to do that if you want to actually try hitting high on those leaderboards. The leaderboards are in fact very competitive. And if all you care about is leaderboard flexing, you can basically ignore the rest. That said, I always wondered what this does. Damn, Alvin's got hands. There's also a challenge board that'll fill up as you fulfill certain requirements in both arcade and story mode. As far as I'm aware, you don't even need to play story mode if you want to unlock everything, which is pretty cool. But these unlock songs and characters and new menu palettes on being completed, and aside from the songs, they mostly just add some flair to your screen. You can have Beat playing alongside herself, play as treble and clef together, or just as treble, or my personal favorite, Zero Moment, No Signal. Beat guitar. Waiver CQC. The child has won. There's a lot of fun little goodies to find here. Some challenge boards also have these titles you can add to your profile to give it some more pizzazz if that's something you're into. If you ever top the leaderboards, this means you too can show off just how based you are. The challenges give you vague hints on how to complete them, but you can unlock a decent amount of stuff just by playing the game normally. I would say just start by playing through story mode first, or just by clearing every song in the list. You'll unlock stuff pretty fast. Okay, keep in mind as I'm talking about this, these issues may already be known by the developers at this point, or may even be patched out by the time you're watching this. For example, So as I'm writing this script, I learned that a patch dropped on the 13th, which fixed a major softlock that was in episode 4 of this game's story mode. Basically, you could progress time on that episode by accident and despawn an NPC you needed to talk to continue the story. So you'd end up in this limbo where you couldn't progress anymore and have effectively bricked your save file. I'm totally not bringing this up because it happened to me. I just thought I should mention that they seemingly fixed this major issue I totally didn't have with the game at first, and that you should be aware that they are on top of things. And I guess you could also say that this game is in fact no longer unbeatable. Are we safe? Oh my god, I think we're safe. There's mostly just minor issues I have with the game at this point, like with transitions between gameplay and story feeling kinda clunky. Going from a cutscene into an immediate gameplay segue means sometimes the notes start appearing before you can even see them, which means you're likely getting hit by them. It actually got bad enough midway through that I caved and turned the difficulty down because it just got frustrating. Another issue is with sound effects. Sometimes there's dialogue that pops up in the middle of a voice conversation that isn't voiced, or the voice isn't matching what the character is actually saying. Sometimes it feels like certain moments are lacking sound effects too, or just aren't that impactful. I also don't really like that the UI in the fighting segments moves so much when you're hitting the notes. It's just harder for me to track them, and I would have preferred an option to lock them in a static spot, like how the normal track is. I don't know if that's just me though, that could be argued as a nitpick. I don't want to sound too harsh though, these are just the negatives that stuck out to me the most. I still very much enjoy my time with the story mode. It's just like a rose with thorns. It's so pretty, but the pain points prick me once in a while. Also, this is mainly towards the story mode. I have virtually zero issues with the arcade mode. Maybe some of the charting is a little awkward, main example being eating is living on star difficulty, where even the autoplay screws it up and can't even get a perfect full clear. Okay, editor's note here. I actually went back and checked this with a few songs, and it turns out that the autoplay is just kinda bad. Like, it's bad at some of the harder songs. So bad there was actually one case where it couldn't even clear a song on Unbeatable, which is actually kind of funny. They should keep it like this. If I had any nitpicks, I wish there were a bit more customization options for profiles and menus. Different borders for your profile, add a spike or something to the end of it. Or maybe have some menu palettes also slightly change the layout of the UI a bit as well. Not like a drastic overhaul, but just something a bit more different than a color change. I like this though. I think this looks cool. Sometimes Unbeatable trips trying to do something cool, kinda like Beat. When it does work, it works really, really well. It's just kinda obvious when it doesn't. With that said though, holy fuck, this game is cool. It's so simple yet fun. The OST is fantastic, the game looks beautiful, it's got a great story, it hits so many highs, and I can't say the negatives outweigh the positives. If you are an avid fan of rhythm games and you're looking for something new, Unbeatable could potentially fill that void. If you're not and you're looking for something to ease you into the genre, I would also recommend this game. It still has a demo you can try, and if something happens to it, try White Label. It's free! If you wanted to play purely for the story, I would either get it on sale or wait until they patch out more of the bugs. It's a very good 10-hour story, but 28 to 30 bucks might be a tad steep for some, but what do I know? All I can say is that in spite of the things I didn't like, I really enjoyed Unbeatable. Is it game of the year for me? Hard to say. It probably comes pretty close though. But now I want a refund for false advertising. Quaver, do you know anything about this? Have you seen this phenomenon before?